All right, so let's pick up where we left off. I'm going to get my watercolor brush out and I'm going to add 3 drops to the green, kind of like what we did a couple of rotations ago. I've added 3 drops and now I'm going to make this small green watercolor puddle and let the bristles of my watercolor brush soak in the color. Great. After I've gotten that done, what I'm going to do is slowly paint up the line, the vertical line of the stem. Remember, vertical means up and down. I'm going to go back and forth, and if I feel like I'm running out of color, I can just get a little bit more, but I think this is pretty good. My next step is going to be to dip my brush back into the green paint. Now we're going to fill in these bow ties. So I don't want it to be too much water. We don't want it to be sloppy. We just want to use little tiny dabs of the green watercolor paint and fill in each and every single one of these bow ties, working from the bottom to the top. And see how I'm holding the watercolor paintbrush on the upper part. I'm not holding it all the way down by the bristles. You want to hold it a little bit higher because that helps you to control the paint a little better. Okay, so as I'm painting, I'm being real careful. Now, if you as an artist happen to go just a little bit outside the lines, is that okay? Of course it is. We all know that what the most important thing is to have fun and to do your best. So if you get it a little bit out of the lines, don't worry about it. This is all about practice, getting used to using the watercolor paint, and just having some fun, doing your best job. Okay, so now is this extra long stem, so I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. Notice that I'm not in a rush because I want to do a good job. Okay, so I'm all the way up here. I'm going to keep going up, and I want a little bit of that green watercolor paint to be on both sides of the black line that I drew with my marker. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. Looks good. I don't want to go too fast because I don't want any of the green paint to accidentally go into my flowers. All right, now I'm going to paint these petals. Great, with the zigzags on the inside. And notice that as I am continuing on up, I'm using my wrist to go nice and slow. And sometimes, occasionally, I will dip my watercolor brush in the water container and add another drop or two of water to keep that puddle nice and wet. I want it to be something that I can just dip my brush easily in. I don't want to scoop it out, so whenever I'm putting the brush in the green watercolor paint, I don't want to use it like a spoon to scoop out the paint. I'm just splish splashing very, very gently into the puddle so that I can continue to reload my brush with that gorgeous green watercolor paint. Great. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to keep adding on to this masterpiece. I'm going to paint up this grass blade on my yellow flower. I'm going to go all the way up to the top. And here's the important thing about doing these grass blades correctly. Once I've spread the watercolor and I've gotten it all the way to the top, I want to round the ends. I want to go past my marker line, as you see here, and I'm going to kind of do a rounded curve at the end. Nice. Okay, looks great. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up the stem. I'm going to go up and I'm going to stop when I get to that yellow flower, the one that's a little bit shorter. And then I'm going to continue on the other end and go to the top, making sure that I have enough paint on my brush to do both sides. All right, looks pretty good. It's really coming together. I like it a lot. I hope that you're enjoying yourself too. Okay, let's keep going. Dipping my green, my paintbrush into the green paint. And again, we have these blades of grass, so I'm going to round the ends, even though they're short ones. I like this little flower. It's kind of cute. And then I'm going to round the other blade of grass. Very good. We don't want to put too much water on the paper. We only want to paint on the areas where we need to. So too much water can make our paper very thin, very easily kind of able to be ripped. And we don't want that. We don't want to add too much water. If that happens, you want to grab a paper towel and kind of sponge it up a little bit. But hopefully that's not happening at home. You're doing your best. You're having fun. Great. Okay. So on this second red flower, I am painting all of the bow ties. And anywhere where I feel like the paint is too much, the watercolor paint is put on too thick, I'm going to dip my brush in those areas and spread it out in additional bow ties that haven't been colored in. So how can I tell if I put on too much paint? Well, without actually tilting your paper, if you were to hold your paper upright and the paint would drip down, that means you've put too much on. There shouldn't quite be that much paint on there. That means you put too much on. We don't want to go too thick with it. That's not how watercolor works. That'll create a mess and could even make your artwork sticky once it's dried. We don't want that either. So I'm going to drag my watercolor brush all the way up that center stem, almost there at the top. Looks great. Okay, so we have 3 flowers left to go. So I'm going to do the same thing with my purple one. I'm dragging that paintbrush all the way up. Can't forget those zigzag leaves either. So I'm going to add a little bit of color there. Very nice. And then my final 2 flowers are pretty simple. All I have to do is keep that brush nice and wet, make sure that the green appears on both the right and left side. Oh, I love it. Looks great. I'm going to go all the way to the top. All the way to the top. Nice. And then on this small orange flower all the way to the right at the bottom, I'm going to round those edges. Okay. Now, what I need to do next is I want you to try something out. It's kind of special. Without the black marker, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to make these leaf shapes. Look at these leaf shapes. There's no marker. I'm just painting them right on. Oh, look how beautiful they are. And some are darker, some are lighter. And that's because of how much paint I'm putting on there. But it adds this cool extra little detail. I think it looks really, really pretty with just the watercolor and without the marker. Go ahead and give that a try. Once you're done, go ahead and clean your brush, take a picture, upload it to Seesaw. I hope you enjoyed yourself like I did, and I'll see you next time. Great job.